The one downtown was circa 1880.
Wow.
So they had a lot of practice for this one by restoring a house downtown that will forever probably be our favorite. The during sucked, but the actual end product, I don't think we'll ever top it. It was amazing.
With this team, with CopeGrand, with Wendy, Rod, you're already at the top of like the level of projects that anybody would want to be involved with. So to go through them and like, hey, the middle sucks. We should say why the middle sucked. Why did the middle suck?
The middle of the project?
The middle of the project. Well, this one or all of them?
Oh, any of them.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you want to like say we were introduced in whatever the year was, it would have been finished in 2020. So we must have met in 2017. Anyway, when I was getting ready to undertake a massive renovation of an 1880s house downtown. Mm-hmm. And as soon as I met them, I was like, okay, this is my team.
Nice.
You know, it's the creative process. Everybody involved had input, and the same thing happened here. That project came out beautifully. So this is just like the downtown house, all original beadboard walls and ceilings. This from circa 1930, that was circa 1880 down there. So this is like brand new by that standard. But there's just a lot of, most people like new, and there's a place for that too. And I wouldn't mind having a new house one day. I don't know what it's like, but it's just so fun to take something that has been deteriorated and just bring it back to life.
I would say that experience, one, from first meeting Wendy and understanding what she cared about most and what she valued, was really an opportunity to learn how to work extremely well together. And that first project, the historic renovation downtown, which we were doing historic renovations a lot around that town. It was still to date one of our favorites, but all of our projects together have been our favorites, and they're all unique in their own special way. But I think something to point out is I never expected to be taken to other places outside of downtown to restore historic homes. And certainly that was not happening on Folly Beach. Mm-hmm. And so after our first project together downtown, in the preservation aspect of what Wendy cares about so much is rescuing
not only dogs,
rescuing
but
dogs,
houses.
to rescuing properties, to bring them back and reimagine them to a new light is really what gave the opportunity for this particular home, as well as others.
And I don't know if there is another property on Folly with such fun and interesting story. Kids that grew up here, I would say, I don't know, 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever, everybody called it the Coca-Cola House. There wasn't a sign out front that said Coca-Cola. It was just, everyone called it the Coca-Cola House. Kids that would come here to surf. My friend Katie, who's like 40 now, grew up coming to Folly. So whatever, that was, say, 30 years ago. Yeah. Everybody referred to it as a Coca-Cola House. So it did have a reputation.
Was it because it was owned by a Coca-Cola executive?
There's your historian.
Yeah, so back in 1929, the McDowell family bought this property for $10.
Wow.
Which is insane in today's times, obviously. And so the McDowell family ran the Charleston Coca-Cola Bottling Facility downtown. And so what they did was, back in those days, it was still a dirt road. You still had the toll. It wasn't heavily populated. I think at that time when they built this house, there was 9 other houses on the entire island. Okay. And so they used it in the summertime for executive retreats and family stuff. And so that's how it became synonymous with Coca-Cola. They also ended up, not related to this house, but Coca-Cola, the bottling facility, was the ones that actually gave the building that the library is in now, and they did that in 1941. So they were very heavily ingrained in the beginnings of Folly Beach.
Yeah, and as modest as this was at the time, it was
big for the time.
It was a big deal.
Yeah, this was actually a very large home. During that time, you were getting maybe 500 to 700 square feet. I mean, you'd walk in and you'd have a room, and a little hallway nook. And that was it. So this was actually a pretty grand house for that time too. Another really cool fact, and I've seen before pictures, is the house was originally painted green. And the reason why is, back during those times, there was fears of Soviet submarines off the coast. So they actually required, if you had a beachfront house, that you had to paint it green so it would blend in with nature.
Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
Yeah.
We did not waste a single board that could have been salvaged and redone and used back in this house. As you look at the photos and you get the old V groove, you have the old trim details. we really did take what we experienced from downtown historic renovation and preservation and took it into this house.
Yeah.
Which was very difficult to imagine, as Wendy was right. We first toured this house together, and it wasn't just me saying, tear this shit down, it was Rodney.
Rodney said it too.
Yeah, and
You lost your mind.
yeah, Rodney said you lost
You
your
can
mind
quote, tear that shit down, you've lost your mind.
I know.
if you want to save something like this, it's going to take a extraordinary amount of time and resources, whereas we could have just simply tore it down and started way back over.
Oh, it would have been less expensive to do.
Yeah, it would have been a much
And we
less-
would have ended up with 3,700 square feet too.
Yeah.
It's certainly a luxury to be able to do it that way, but our intention was to use it as our guest house, so I didn't want a grand house, and I love the history of it, which thanks to Jacqueline, I know so much more about it now.
Was it in like disarray when you purchased it, or?
Well, we have.
Could you
Did
live
you
here?
see any of the before pictures?
I think so.
It wasn't. It wasn't unlivable.
Right.
It was not functioning properly, but it had been and was still a vacation rental home when I purchased it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So people were still renting it, but it was basically like camping.
Okay.
I have tons of pictures we can show you. It was, first of all the original beadboard is dark wood, and I wish I could say how many gallons of white paint it cost to change that. But everything was dark, like ceilings, walls, everything. Unfortunately, we couldn't save the original floors because there was too much termite damage. So that was the one thing I conceded to Adam was okay.
So there was a lot of rot, there was a lot of mold, there was a lot of rodent damage, and there was a ton of termite damage. And so structurally, it's amazing that this house survived all the hurricanes, including Hugo, that it actually survived. And I remember specifically, even on this side, but mostly surrounding all the bathrooms, where the moisture was, that corner over there was almost completely gone. Structurally wise, this side, I was saying, let's not walk on this floor at
Yeah.
all.
If you ask Adam,
Quarantine this space.
if you ask him what was the hardest part, keeping it from falling down.
So what did you do?
Rodney, what do we have to do?
We put diagonal bracing in. We actually braced up the house to keep it steady, and then
Okay.
went down underneath. And most of the posts, the pillars were all rotted away, ate up by termites. The whole house was shifting back and forth.
Oh my
And we finally
gosh.
got diagonal bracing on here and braced it from the ground up, and it finally stabilized. And then we started replacing posts one by one.
Yeah,
Wow.
so we elevated the house and replaced the foundation underneath of it. And then we started taking individual quarters of the house and replacing the structural members by surgically taking out the old ones and putting back in the new ones. And the beautiful thing about the opportunity to do that is now this home is ready with, even though historically we kept it the same, we now have impact rated glass. We now have all the structure, the strapping, the roofing, and the foundation system that's going to let this house stand the next 50 hurricanes that come through.
Right. Did you grow up in like a
and got it
historic
saved.
home?
Yeah.
Well, I grew up in New Orleans, so
Okay.
maybe that's where I get it. Going to the French Quarter, and I've always loved historic home, old architecture.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was part of what drew me to Charleston was the architecture downtown that felt very similar to New Orleans and
Yeah.
the Garden District and the French Quarter in New Orleans.
The decisions that we made on the materials too. We always learn lessons from historic homes. What materials are actually the materials that are going to stand the test of time, in addition to being low maintenance. And so what we have on this house is a standing metal seam roof, a roof that's going to last generations. On the exterior siding, we've got all cement board, all low maintenance materials, all copper flashing. When we go to the decks and the railings and the doors, the exterior screen porch doors, they're all Ipe, and then stainless steel. So from a maintenance perspective, this home has also been built to last, rehab to last the generations to come too, which is awesome. I guess I was getting fatigued with the typical phone or Zoom interviews, talking about the typical quintessential questions that we
Right.
about this house, about this experience, about everything else. And I had the idea that I wanted to share with Jacqueline. I was like, no, we can just get together as a team and the collaborators and all the stakeholders of the project and just remember what it was like in this experience from the first time we walked in here to say, hey, what do you think about this? Should we buy it?
I don't remember asking that question. I remember saying, I'm buying it.
Okay.
And y'all trying to convince me to
not
tear
buy
that
it.
shit down.
Yeah, that might have been more accurate for this one. And then you endeavor to dream about what this place could look like, what it should look like. Do you make it something completely different? Do you try to celebrate what it was? And I think speaking about Wendy's design eye, is something that I would say that in all the years working in construction and design, she's incredibly unique to just live in a whole different spatial place where she can imagine these things that most of the rest of us have a difficult time doing. And she can do it in real time. She really was able to direct us in real time without plans necessarily how to remodel this home, to restore it. She was able to direct us in real time of what her expectations or what her desires were, what they would look like in order to bring it to what it is today. And so I celebrate Wendy with every project that we get to do together, that she's incredibly skilled and talented with
Thank you
the
very
design.
much. I would say a big decision that I made very quickly was I didn't want to move the kitchen. Everybody nowadays, open concept, kitchen with a view, whatever. And I couldn't have kept the spirit of this house by moving the kitchen. But I love that it's there and that we didn't move it, that this is still the layout that it was. I'm obviously the kitchen had been updated at some point.
Yeah.
If we would have imagined that kitchen to be in a place like this, in this social area right now, it would have taken up so much of the footprint. It would have required so much more space, which would have taken away from the other areas. In a home like this, in the size of a home like this, I think Wendy was right, keeping that kitchen over there, letting it remain utility so that prep, cooking, and then gathering
But it still rocks.
can happen out over
Yeah,
here.
it's still.
I was just gonna say, is it because you guys kept the footprint, you didn't have to have like typical plans? You know, you guys are just kind of coming in and,
Well-
and fixing things.
There were still a lot of creative decisions that were made. For example, this living room went 3 feet into a front porch that was way bigger than it needed to be, because who's going to go sit on the front porch, right?
That's
Right.
just one.
So we went 3 feet that way, which gives this room a much better feeling of space, but it feels like it was
Yeah.
always this way.
Yeah.
I'd say that one of our other mantras is that we collectively, this team, we hate wasted space. And so that was the opportunity to figure out, hey, by the way, is this the right layout? Is this the right proportions of this? Or where would we value more space at? And so
Yeah,
taking
the
that space on the
bathrooms.
porch, the bathrooms,
And a master closet.
absolutely. Yeah.
But luckily that space presented itself and we just took advantage of it. I don't remember when we started and when we finished. Do you? Was it like a year?
No, I would think that this one was like a 9-monther.
Do you?
Yeah, probably 8 months.
Yeah.
8 or 9.
Yeah, we were at it all the time.
It's kind of fast for
With Wendy,
what you
Wendy next
described.
door, at CopeGrand, we've got a mantra of no down days. And I don't remember having a down day on this project. There were always people here. And we were always making progress the whole way through. So you had asked a question about how do you go through a project. You stay in the footprint for sure. And you certainly still have the architects or draftsmen or engineers involved to support the decisions that you're making with floor plan adjustments.
I imagine it couldn't be this close to the road anymore if we were to.
From a zoning perspective, no. Yeah, if we would have changed that,
Yeah.
it would have had to go that way.
And I would say that in addition to tearing it down, if someone weren't tearing it down, they would have wanted it to go closer to the
closer.
ocean. But the view is gorgeous. It's unusual to have a beautiful green yard between the house and the ocean, and it's great. I mean, I wouldn't change it. I love it. It just has such a fun, storied history, and
Yeah.
I really don't know if there's anything else like it on Folly.
No, it's completely unique.
Yeah.
I'd say that this
Yeah.
house entertains extremely well for its size, the outdoor space, and it's got so much character that just
Yeah.
you're never. I mean, I think that's the value, Wendy, when you were making the decision to save this home, to rescue this home. I really do feel like what I now have learned, the value of it is the character that is still here and it's going to be here for another generation or two
Yeah.
to come. I think that as Wendy is a resident of Folly Beach, it really does mean something to the community to save the character, to save the old culture.
But I would venture to say that once the article comes out, we need to put it in front of the city officials and some of the people that have lived here for a long time. I'm sure they don't even realize it's been restored.
Yeah.
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 Anyone who's lived here for a long time will know it's the Coca-Cola House, but they won't have any way of knowing that it's been, restored and is well loved. And
Yeah,
this
we'll
house
see.
is airtight, and the electricity bills here are super low because it's insulated now, and all the impact doors and windows make it very efficient.
What are you thinking about the reason why I really wanted to get everybody together, and I'm going to continue to do this, by the way, because I love it so much, is getting together, having fun, reminiscing, really transacting on what was the intent, but really what was the value, what value did we discover out of it. And I think that Wendy continues. I certainly continue to have an appreciation for this project even more so. How do you tell, I want stories, the story behind what actually happened to be told rather than like a snapshot of here's another house with another kitchen with another porch.
Here's what we're looking at.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you think we can get creative about telling the story of the project and really getting the essence of it?
Absolutely.
And I expect this helped, right?
Yeah. Oh, completely. Yes. I think that between it being, you know, to your point of like people who grew up here know what you're talking about when they say the Coca-Cola House, but they might not recognize it today, or, you know, a lot of people haven't been able to come in. I think just telling that story outside in, inside out kind of way will be, we'll definitely
I just
talk
want
about
it, you know, usually the articles are like architect so-and-so and builder so-and-so collaborated with designer so-and-so to create this magnificent
Right.
blah, 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 blah. And then I end up, I don't read it. I just look at the pretty pictures and then I move on. Like, you have to figure out how you can captivate, like they make them immediately want to read more, you know?
Right, right. I'll definitely talk about how, you know, you both were involved in it. I guess, is it fair to say more so than like the typical homeowner?
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that
a true,
kind of,
like it's a true
For better or
collaboration.
for worse?
For better
I
or for
was
worse. That's actually
intimately
really,
involved.
it's really good. For better or for
Because
worse.
it is kind of a marriage,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
Because we all
100%.
live together.
It's more than that. You know, we spend more time together working on this house than most people do with their families at home.
I would venture to say that this is probably the most historic home on Folly that has been restored to this caliber, because the only other really famous home you think of when you think of Folly is the Porgy and Bess home. But if you go by there or if you go inside of it, it looks like it is still from 1940s, 1950s. They haven't restored it back to the grandeur that it once was. So I'm really hoping with this article too and everything that it can really bring the appreciation that this home should have because of such the deep history. I haven't found out yet who originally built the home, but you also have to think about the caliber of the house that was originally built. Like in 1940, before they actually started naming hurricanes, a house 3 lots down, demolished. Demolished. This house still stood. That says something about the original builders too, and the ability for us to then come behind them and be able to bring it back to what it is today.
Yeah.
One other little fun fact
great.
that I did find out, that this actually wasn't originally beachfront. It was a dirt road at that time, but it was called Atlantic Boulevard. That was the actual first beachfront road on Folly. But after years and years of erosion, I think it was 1963, when they had to say you couldn't do it anymore. So even though this is beachfront, and it still was, there was an actual road that actually went by. So this address originally was 1003 Atlantic Boulevard. It's now 1005 East Arctic, obviously. But you go back and you look at old photographs and you can see you used to be able to actually drive right out onto the beach.
That seems so random and like not safe. Like, would people understand the tides or like would their cars get
Well,
stuck?
the beach was much, much wider.
That's
I mean,
true,
you've got
yeah.
to think years and years of erosion. And really and truly, the only reason that Folly is as wide as it is now is because they did a huge restoration on it and brought in so much sand. And the further down you go towards washout, you can see the smaller and smaller it gets. So I thought that was cool because when I was first researching, I was like, Atlantic? What, the house is on East Arctic? And then I found the original plat that was done in 1901 where they did all the streets, and all of the streets are laid exactly how they were. The only difference is the numbering. Everything else, the lots, everything is exactly as it was back then.
It's like this house has been, and is meant to be here, you know? Not to get all like spiritual on you, but like, you know, it lasted through super, like gave me chills thinking about it. Like the original intent.
There's really no reason for it to still be here.
No. There's not.
Against all odds, the Coca-Cola House still rules.
Yeah.
But I think to your point earlier, it takes owners like you both who are committed to the restoration, preservation of it all, because I'm sure you meet a lot of people who are like, tear it down, do new stuff, and the kind of like you guys took the not easy way to get what you wanted, and I think that's really a big piece that I'll write about too. I'm excited.
You can get close if you start over, but you can't get this.
No.
And it's also furnished like that too. It's furnished like it was, none of this stuff came together. It was just all, I mean, it all looks great now, but it's meant to be like it just pieces over the years came together. It's also hard because like we rarely celebrate the completion of a project because before it's finished, we've already started on the next one. So we're always like we never did like open a bottle of champagne or do anything here. When this article comes out, maybe we'll like have
Yeah.
We
Good
can. We have a
excuse.
magazine open
have a
for you.
party.
Yeah, that could be fun.
Do you
Okay.
have photos of under construction?
I don't have a lot of the under construction. We need to go through.
We should look at
I
that.
also have
Because-
some that the guy that lives over there took of after that huge storm, and he said, "I couldn't believe your house was still standing." And he sent me a bunch of pictures of that.
Yeah, I think that
It was all propped up like wonky, and
I think it would be worth one photo. I don't know how where it needs to be in the article, but
Okay.
there are some photos of some really nasty termite and structural damage that we literally stood right underneath here and said, "What are we doing?"
I know that we've talked about a lot, and I know you were recording this too, but
Yeah.
I'll just go back through and just do a synopsis of all of the history and stuff on the house, so that way it's right there for you.
Excellent.
But yeah, I bugged the heck out of Lisa because I knew that we were going to do before and after, and we were up for Project Files next edition, and I was like, no. I was like, Lisa, I don't know what you can do. Please talk to the editor. And she went back and forth a little bit and was like, yes, we can do it. I said, okay. I said, but we want this one different. Like he said, we wanted to do this in the space so you can feel it, and we wanted it to be more than just this is the architectural features, like the actual rich history behind it, because that sometimes gets lost, and it's so desperately important with this home.
Yeah, super neat. Well, thank you so much for having me see everything. and-
homeowner who acted as designer. Don't call
That's
me
right.
designer.
I got that. 100%.
It's cooler that way that I'm not a
Right,
professional.
she doesn't want
Yeah,
people
that's
calling
right.
her to do their house.
Yeah.
Well, no, but I just think it's like I do it. It's a passion versus a job.
Love you guys.
Thank you so much for making time. I know that was tough.
No, it wasn't. Well,
Come visit.
just a minute. All right, love you, dog. See y'all soon.
Yes.